Hey, we're ready to talk about Africa. Once again, same thing. All of this is happening during the Cold War. We're just not really talking too much about the United States or the Soviet Union, but all the same time period this is happening. Same time that we talked in the last lecture about Indonesia, and the lecture before that, we talked about India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. This is all happening at the same time, just different regions of the world. Okay, so lots and lots of countries in Africa had been colonies of European countries and for a long time. And they started wanting their independence. And after World War II, Europe was just so exhausted that they just didn't have a fight in them. And most of them got their independence relatively peacefully. But once they got their independence, ruling was a real problem. I want to show you something. This clearly does not look like Africa at all. I know that. I'm just using it as an example. Let's say, I don't know, I'm gonna make it a little easier like this. Okay, so let's say this is how the tribes of Africa naturally lived. One ethnic group lived here, and one ethnic group lived here, and one ethnic group lived here, so on and so forth. You know that. Well, when Europe went in and drew their lines, do you remember the meeting? We talked about this forever ago when no one from Africa was even invited, and the European countries just went in and broke up Africa and said, well, I'm going to take this part and you take that part. Well, they did things like drew a line right here, and they called all of this one country. But you've got three different ethnic groups here. And then they said, this is one country. You've got four different ethnic groups living in this country. And then maybe they did something like this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ethnic groups living in what they're calling, Europeans called, one country. Well, now, let's say this country here has gained its independence, and you've got one African person from, I don't know, let's say this guy's from this ethnic group here, this one. And he's supposed to be in charge of all these people. Let's make sure you understand what an ethnic group is. An ethnic group is a group of people that share the same culture. So these are people with the same religion. They would have the same kind of fashion sense. They would listen to the same music, the same, just like the same culture. That's an ethnic, they would share the same language. Many of them would be related. I don't mean that in like an incest kind of way. I just mean that all your cousins, your brothers and your sisters and your cousins, and maybe maybe this person and all that this person's husband, wife, and all this guy's brothers and sisters and all their cousins and all this person's brothers and sisters and cousins, and then all their children and all the children's cousins. They would all be one ethnic group. And they're usually fairly different from each other. This ethnic group down here might have absolutely nothing in common with these people up here, like nothing. But they've suddenly gotten their independence from Europe, and they're supposed to be running themselves as one country. Well, it was difficult. And many of these countries had these great ideas that they were going to be democracies. And it didn't last very long. Many, many, many of them pretty quickly turned into authoritarian dictatorships. And I've just got some of them to talk to you about. Just in case you don't know, there are 45 countries in Africa, and let me go here. There are 45 countries in Africa, and the continent of Africa is 3 times the size of the United States. Here's the United States. If you multiplied it by 3, you'd have the size of this continent, and there are 45 different countries. If I were going to talk to you about all 45 of these countries, I'd still be sitting here this time tomorrow night making this lecture. So I'm just going to talk to you about some of the countries that hopefully you've heard of. That little dot right there, that's my house. That's where I lived. So first I'm going to talk about Ghana. So here I was in Benin, and in between Benin and Ghana is Togo. So it's Benin, Togo, Ghana. We're going to talk about Ghana. Oh, and also, this is desert. This is the Sahara Desert. Hopefully you've heard of the Sahara Desert. And anything below the Saharan Desert is called sub-Saharan Africa. Because sub means below, Saharan, the Sahara Desert, sub-Sahara, below the Saharan Desert. Okay, so Ghana, I'm going to change back to black. Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African nation to win its independence. And it was peaceful. Britain just kind of said, okay, go be your thing. Well, the new president supported socialism and did like an okay job with socialism, except, and he did, what I'm about to say, he did it from a good place. He built a dam. He built a dam along a river to produce energy, to make electricity, to give his people electricity. But he couldn't afford the dam, and so he borrowed money from other countries. So Ghana borrowed money from other countries to build this dam to give the people electricity, but they couldn't repay their debt. They borrowed way more money than they were ever going to be able to pay back. And due to that, their nation fell into an extremely impoverished state. Even though it was supposed to be a socialist country, the government itself didn't have the money to do social programs. They didn't have the money to give people free education. They didn't have the money to give people free healthcare. They didn't, those are social programs. The government didn't have that money because every cent, every penny the government had, they were paying back these loans that they had borrowed to build this dam. There was also lots and lots of corruption and a very, very long string of coups. Like there would be, there was lots of corruption, and then there would be a coup, and then there would be another coup, and then there would be another coup. And sometimes the president would only last a few months, and there would be a coup d'etat. He's gone, out. In the 1990s, a new leader came along and really did start to make some differences. Like, let's go back to the map. I lived here in Benin, and oh my goodness, it's very poor there. It's really, really, really poor in Benin. But I had a student from Ghana. His dad had a job in Benin, and that's why they were there. And he always talked about how poor it was in Benin. He was like, in Ghana, they had fast food restaurants, and they had a shopping mall, and like things were a little better in Ghana. But right here, just a little closer, it's still really, really poor here. Now we're going to talk about Kenya. Here's Kenya. I'm going to zoom back out so you can see where Kenya is. We were over here in Ghana. Now we're all the way across the continent, and we're talking about Kenya. Well, Kenya's freedom didn't come so peacefully. So Kenya had a really, really large amount of white people that lived here. Ghana didn't really, like most of the African countries that were European colonies, white people didn't really move there. Like government leaders would. If somebody from England said, Mrs. Gibbons, you're gonna go be the governor of Ghana, then okay, all right, fine. I go, I take my husband, I take my daughter. But white people weren't just leaving England to go live in Ghana. But lots of white people did go live in Kenya. It's the temperature is nice there. There are lots of wild animals there. When you think of a safari, like close your eyes and think about what you think when you think of an African safari. You are thinking of Kenya. And so white people in Kenya had taken all the best land. They had taken all the best land and said it was theirs. And so the local Black Africans were left with all the crappy land where you can't really grow anything. And then in the 1950s, the Black Africans rose up and guerrilla style and started fighting against the white people. And in 1963, Britain finally backed down and withdrew and left Kenya and said, okay, fine, you can have your country, it's yours now. But when they did that, there were years and years of ethnic struggles. Like, okay, the white people are gone, but now which ethnicity, which culture group is going to rule us? And there were major, major battles between the different ethnic groups in Kenya. And now we're moving to Algeria. Algeria's up here. Algeria. Algeria had been a French colony since 1830, so a long time. In the 1950s, France had just lost Vietnam. And they were really upset about that. So they were especially serious about holding on to Algeria. Like they were like, no, we just lost Vietnam. We are not going to lose Algeria too. We are keeping it. Especially after they discovered oil in Algeria. They found oil, and everybody knows what oil means. Oil means money. So as long as Algeria belongs to France, then the oil in Algeria belongs to France. From 1954 to 1962, there was a massive, massive guerrilla warfare war of Algerian nationalists fighting against the French army. And the nationalists were called the National Liberation Front. This guerrilla group of the National Liberation Front fought for 8 years against the French army. And then they won. They won. Algeria got its independence and turned into a military state. That means the Algerian military was the government. The military ran everything. And then for years and years and years, there were fights between the military and the Islamists. I don't know why I put an equal sign there. Military state does not equal Islamist. Versus the military versus the Islamists. The Islamists, remember, are extreme Muslims, extremely, extremely conservative Muslims. In 1992, they had open elections. This means democratic elections. And the Islamists won. So, 1992, the people spoke. They went out, they voted, and they voted for the Islamists. The military was really angry about that, and civil war broke out. So there was a civil war from 1992 to 1999. And I say 92 to 99, peace was never, nothing happened. Nobody ever signed any papers that there was a peace treaty. They just kind of stopped fighting as much. And except still today, there is violence. In Algeria, there will still be Islamist, extreme Muslim military terrorist attacks in the major cities, in the countryside, whatever, from where you still have these extreme Muslims that want an Islamic state. And now we're gonna go to the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's right here in the center. It is a DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm also going to mention, come on, where is it? The Republic of the Congo. Please learn that these are different countries. If you can learn at the age of 15, 16, whatever you are, that there's a difference in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo, you'll be better than most adults on earth. They're different places. Okay, but let's zoom back out because I want you to see where we're talking about. This is the DRC. Nobody really ever says Democratic Republic of Congo. People say the DRC. And over here, they say Republic of Congo. So that's how you can know the difference. They call this one the Republic of Congo, and they call this one the DRC. That's how people talk about it. Okay, anyway, so the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, won its independence from Belgium in 1960. You might remember, we talked about this before. Do you remember the King of Belgium and how awful, 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 awful he was to the people? And then the government of Belgium made him, because it was his personal thing. Like it didn't belong to the country, it belonged to this human being. One person owned a country and he was awful to them. And then the government of Belgium said, nah, come on, dude, you turn that over to us. And then the country of Belgium became the owner of the country of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It sounds so ridiculous that a country can own another country, but I don't make the rules. I just teach you about them. So in 1960, they won their independence. But once again, just like all the other African countries, they were completely unprepared for self-rule. They had been screaming for it. Independence, independence, independence. We want to rule ourselves. But then they didn't actually have a plan in place. And so suddenly they found themselves independent, but with no plan whatsoever in place as to who's actually going to rule us and how are we going to run our country. And a big old civil war happened. Eventually, that civil war made the DRC and the Republic of Congo. Let me zoom in. Okay, it used to be all one huge Central African nation. But there was a civil war, and now we've got the Republic of Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And one more country to talk about. Nigeria. Nigeria was my neighbor when I was there. Here I am, that's my house, and Nigeria is here. So Benin, Nigeria. In 1960, they had a peaceful independence from Britain. That's a B, from Britain. But yeah, they weren't really ready for it either. And in 1966, there was a brutal, nasty, vicious civil war. 500,000 people died. Then from 1996 to 1999, I understand I skipped 30 years, but I have to do that to make class keep moving. From 1996 to 1999, there was a long string of coups. Long string of coups. In 1999, there were finally open, free, democratic elections. But still, today, there is great ethnic tension. There is ethnic violence all throughout the country at any time. You could Google ethnic violence in Nigeria right now, and you'd probably get page after page after page of ethnic violence in Nigeria. A major source of ethnic violence is the Islamists in the Northeast. I was going to draw a picture, but I may as well just go back to the map. So this area here of Nigeria, this area is full of extremist, conservative, Muslim, Islamist, and there are many terrorists that live in here. And they want to enforce Sharia law on all of Nigeria. Sharia law is religious law, Muslim religious law, taking the laws from their holy book, the Quran, and forcing everyone to live by those laws. Whether you're Muslim or not, you have to live by those laws if you live in Nigeria. And that's what they're trying to force on the entire country. We're finished with Africa. Yay.